Hi, welcome to White Glove Geography. Today we're looking at the Changing Economic World section of the AQA Geography course. We're looking at our NEE country, which is Brazil, 6 and 9 mark questions, and specifically the wider political, social, cultural and environmental context within which the country or Brazil is placed. Here's the two exam questions that we're going to look at today. So, to what extent has the environmental context of your chosen LIC or NEE created opportunities for promoting economic growth? Also, with reference to an LIC or NEE that you have studied, explain how the social context of the country has affected different groups of people. Here's the information page, so if you haven't got the information or access to the booklet today, just pause here, have a glance through it. All of the information today is going to come from this page and also the following page. Here's the second information page, so pause here if you're not familiar with the information. And we're going to go through the assessment objectives, AO1, AO2, AO3. So AO1 is knowing good geography, so stuff, data, geography words, place names, examples. AO2, understanding the stuff. And AO3, which is making a decision, so words like significant, important, effective and successful. As we saw earlier, the first question is a to what extent question. So here's what you're going to do. On the left hand side in the white box, you're going to make a decision. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Don't go on the very far right hand side or the very far left hand side. I would like you somewhere in the middle, but don't be halfway. So maybe 60% or 70%, or if you don't agree, maybe 30% or 40%. And there's a structure there in the cream box. If you're struggling for sentence starters or what to put in your sentences, have a look at the very far right hand side. Pause here if you need to. Of course, in any of the extended questions, if you find it a little bit more difficult to structure your work, that's absolutely fine. On the next slide, we'll see what to do. Here's the multi-tool structure. It's based on evaluate, and to be honest, if you evaluate, you'll be pretty close to most of the extended examples. So assess, explain, evaluate, to what extent, discuss, you'll be absolutely fine. Give us an introduction, give us a positive, give us a negative, and make a conclusion at the end. So here's the question. To what extent has the environmental context of your chosen LIC or NEE created opportunities for promoting economic growth? Let's pull this question apart a little bit. So to what extent? Look at the positives, look at the negatives. And if you think it has created economic growth or opportunities for economic growth, you're going to focus more on the positives, maybe 2 positive paragraphs. If you think the environmental context hasn't created opportunities, you'll focus more on the negative, so maybe 2 negative points, maybe 2 negative paragraphs. So the environmental context, that's to do with the plants, habitats, and of course our example is Brazil, so the environmental context will specifically probably be the Amazon rainforest. So the opportunities, we're thinking about the positives of making money from the Amazon rainforest in Brazil. And of course this is a 6 mark question, so you're going to be thinking about data, geography words, examples. And economic growth of course is to do with money, trade and business. Here's the kind of space that you will have, maybe 10 to 12 lines, so it's not a lot. You need to get straight in there, no waffling at the start, get straight into answering the question. In terms of your structure, here's how you'll structure it. I'm not going to read all of these things here. You'll be well advised maybe just to pause here and just look at the introduction, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and most significantly, most important, is the conclusion. The mark schemes, as ever, this is what the examiners see. Level 1 is basic, level 2 is clear, level 3 is detailed. So here's a possible answer that we've got. To a large extent, 75%, I believe the environmental context of the Amazon rainforest in Brazil will promote opportunities for economic growth. Deforestation creates opportunities for agriculture such as cattle ranching. This is significant as it earns $6.9 billion per year, which results in more tax being paid. Also, deforestation creates opportunities for the removal and sale of raw materials such as iron ore. These earn money for the country. This means that taxes can be spent on infrastructure. However, raw materials will eventually run out, and methane from cattle ranching causes climate change issues, which is particularly important at a global scale. In conclusion, local economic opportunities are significant in the short term. However, economic opportunities to use the environment in the Amazon will reduce in the long term. On this slide here, you can see where we've identified stuff, geography words, data, examples, place names. You can see AO2, so there's development, which results in, meaning that, which is. And most importantly, AO3, have you made some decisions? And this isn't just in the conclusion, you could do it throughout your work. You can see here there's two examples where it's at the end of a paragraph or the end of a point, so it's a mini conclusion. So find those aspects where you've got the green. And you can see the structure where we've got the introduction, first positive PL paragraph, second positive PL paragraph, the negative, so look at the other side of the argument, and then the conclusion. Again, we've got the assessment objectives for the next question. Pause here if you need those, but I know I've already gone through them. Here's the next question. With reference to an RIC or NE that you have studied, explain how the social context of the country has affected different groups of people. You're going to read and annotate the question first, and you're going to name an RIC or NE country, and of course ours is Brazil. Maybe refer to 2 or 3 different groups of people. We'd much rather you talk about 2 different groups of people, but you do it well. So the social context, we're thinking about people and communities and how they interact with each other. And of course this is a 9-mark extended question. We definitely want AO1, AO2, AO3. It's an explain question. So there's a structure there in the base strip in the middle. What should you do? Maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs, peel paragraphs. What kind of things should you be writing in that paragraph? Have a look at the green box on the right hand side. So definitely phrases such as this is due to, this means that, a result of this is, a knock-on effect of this is. And of course, add a conclusion. It doesn't actually need a conclusion on this one, but still add a conclusion, whatever. It's always good practice to make a decision. Of course, if you struggle with the different command words, use the multi-tool structure. I've already gone through this today, so feel free just to pause this if you need to, but this is the evaluate one. If you evaluate, you'll be absolutely fine. On any extended question, discuss, assess, explain, evaluate, just use the multi-tool structure. Here's the structure of your work. So the introduction, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, and the conclusion. So paragraph 1 is firstly, paragraph 2 actually should be secondly, and the conclusion. Use one of those keywords: significant, important, effective, successful. Make a decision. Which groups of people are most significantly affected? That's the kind of space you will have, so not a lot of space. Get straight in there, don't waffle. So here's one way of approaching the answer. The social context of an NE such as Brazil has particularly affected indigenous groups and black ethnic groups. Indigenous groups are negatively affected by the social context of Brazil because they only make up about 0.4% of the population. This means that they have little say over their individual living place. This is significant as it links to deforestation activities. It's clear that black males are negatively affected by the mainly white government officials. There's a 1.5 multiple of more black people in prison compared to white males. This is likely to result from lack of education, the opportunities in that, and racial issues. In conclusion, the mixed ethnic social context affects some indigenous groups. However, the black ethnic groups seem to be most significantly affected. The long-term influence of the white-dominated government isn't likely to change soon. As ever, there's the mark scheme, level 1, level 2, level 3, so basic, clear and detailed. And there's the AO1s, AO2s, AO3s identified in the work. Pause here if you want to just scan through those. And here's the structure, so the introduction, first PL paragraph, second PL paragraph, and the conclusion. So you can see in there, it's got everything that you need, AO1s, AO2s, AO3s. We've addressed 2 or 3 different points, and it's not overly wordy.